Hello, I'm Malcolm J. O'Shea, and this is Mojo Rider. I'm an actor and a comedian living in Los Angeles, making my dreams come true. And just last year, I got a motorcycle and learned how to ride it. And this channel is my journal as I ride my motorcycle all around Los Angeles, living my actor dreams. From film location, to auditions, to COVID tests, to tourist locations. You name it, I have video footage of me riding my bike there. On this channel, you get to see it all. So please, hit that like and subscribe button, sit back, and enjoy the ride. When I was a kid, I heard the Confucius quote, "Choose a job you love, and you will never have to work a day in your life." And it stuck with me. In our first episode, I talked a lot about my plans for this channel and a little bit about my acting background. If you haven't watched that already, please go check it out. But in this episode, I'm going to spend a little bit more time talking about my acting background and how I got into acting. Everything from childhood all the way to booking jobs here in Hollywood. Oh, and in this episode, what we're going to see here is this is actually a ride home from the Comedy Chateau in the evening. So now we're going to just take surface streets, not going to go on the freeway. And we're going to take a ride past Disney, ABC, their studios here. And I'll try to point that out for you on the ride, see if you can spot it for yourself. Enjoy the ride and enjoy the story of how I got into acting. I would have to say that my love for acting started off with my love for just performing and doing artwork. I remember back in early grade school, one of my favorite classes was actually the music class, because basically you didn't have to read, you didn't have to do math, you didn't even have to color or anything. All you had to do was sit there and sing, and I loved it. And then the best part was every few months we would get to put on a performance, and that was great. And then my whole family would come. And then another thing that happened around the same time is I had an older brother who would act and perform in the high school performances as an actor. And so I would, kind of as a trade-off, my parents would say, you got to go see his performances because he's coming to your concerts and stuff. And so I would go see his plays and, just watching him act and play different people on stage and watch that people were interested in that really got me interested. And I like that even more than singing. So I kind of, I gravitated towards chorus and choir and stuff in middle school because there was no theater or acting drama department there, and I could still put on concerts and stuff. Then when I got into high school, I basically auditioned for and took every class I could that was related to theater. I just kind of went after it. And then throughout high school, I actually got transferred from Illinois to Georgia halfway through my high school career. And down in Georgia, to be in the plays, you actually had to be in the class. So there was a separate class for the musicals, separate class for the drama, and then they actually had a separate acting class. So my senior year of high school, what I actually ended up doing was I took night school classes for core curriculum for my English and my history class. I took that at night at a separate school for the kids that were having trouble, who couldn't even make up all their classes in summer school. I took my core curriculum there so I could take 3 theater classes during the day at my main regular high school because I just wanted to be in every show and everything. And then I ended up going to college. I majored in theater. I signed up to be a theater major right away. I actually picked my college based on the theater. I fell in love with the building. Where I went was LaGrange College in LaGrange, Georgia, and the Price Theater was the building I fell in love with when I decided to go there. All this love of theater and performing and learning how to act, it all kind of came to a screeching halt when I graduated college because I met my wife and decided to start a family instead. And I believed what everybody was telling me, that it's impossible to make it as an actor out in the world and unless you know somebody or you have connections. So I took the path that everybody takes, and I went after regular office work and other stuff like that, and I didn't pursue acting. I took a long break. And then through other life events, I realized that wasn't going to work for me. So I eventually did get back into acting, obviously. And what happened was I first started out by auditioning for community theater productions. And the first few things I auditioned for, I didn't get anything, but I still wanted to be involved. So I did backstage work and I did set construction work, and I kept auditioning. Okay, and if you haven't noticed by now, over here on the left is actually the Disney Studios. I know it's a little bit dark. You look up ahead, you'll see the ABC Tower, and then after I turn through this intersection, I'm going to go under a bridge that connects the ABC building to the Disney Studios. But this is where it's at. And now back to our story. The first thing I got cast in community theater was actually a chorus role in Oliver. So it basically felt like I was still at home, because even when I was at the theater, I was babysitting a bunch of kids, because it was a musical with kids in it, and I had barely any stage time, so I was always backstage trying to get a bunch of teenage boys to keep quiet. So it felt like I was just at home. But that blossomed. I kept auditioning, and I kept getting bigger and bigger roles at that theater, and I started making contacts at other theaters and learning about auditions at other theaters, and started auditioning at other theaters and started getting bigger roles at other theaters, and it just kept progressing. Then I started to try my hand in auditioning for some student films and started getting cast in things like that. This is all in the Chicago area, and I got to this point where I started getting more and more confidence, so I decided I'm gonna pursue this. So I invested in myself. I started taking classes again. I took some classes at Second City. I took classes in stand-up, in on-camera acting, improv, and voiceover. I took all sorts of classes at Second City. Spent about a year studying there before finally just deciding to up and move to Los Angeles. And so I moved to Los Angeles in late 2019, and first thing I did when I got here was I registered with Central Casting and started trying to book background acting jobs through them. First background job I got through Central Casting was for the show Superstore. I'm sure some of you have heard of that. That was a lot of fun. It was a great experience. And then I also, at the same time, I have accounts on Backstage.com and ActorsAccess.com, and I'll put links to those two websites and Central Casting in the description for you guys, as well as my calling service, which is called Extras Management. What Extras Management is they actually submit me to jobs at casting services like Central Casting and other services, instead of me having to go online and submit myself. I pay $75 a month for this service. If they don't book me at all, I only have to pay them $25. But typically they book me 3 to 4 times a month, and they book me on all sorts of great jobs. Just to give you an idea, between Central Casting and Extras Management, I've gotten to work with Paul Rudd, Kerry Washington, Julia Roberts, Jordan Peele, Sean Penn, Daniel Kaluuya, Keke Palmer, Taika Waititi, Zack Snyder, Natalie Portman, Robert Downey Jr., Amanda Seyfried, Brad Pitt, Margo Robbie. I mean, the list goes on. I've been in various projects with all these people, gotten to meet many of them. It's been a great ride, and that was all really due to booking background work through Extras Management and Central Casting, just letting the universe guide me on my journey here. The other thing I did in LA was I registered for classes at UCB, and I took a couple classes there pre-pandemic and kind of kept my improv chops sharp. There's also the LA Connection Comedy Improv Playhouse that I had a short stint studying there and performing there. So I also booked a couple commercials right when I got to LA, which was really nice. I did those through Backstage and Actors Access, as well as a couple independent films or pilots, also through Actors Access and Backstage. You can see about a couple of them if you check out my IMDb profile, actually. And I'll put a link here and a link in the description for you. Essentially, what I did is I just did. I just kept after it. I kept auditioning. I kept looking for different opportunities. I kept talking to different people, and that's another thing, too. If you do get to be like me and get lucky enough to get onto one of these film sets, network. Just talk to as many people who are willing to talk to you, get to know them, get to know what they're working on, what their projects are like. I've also started booking jobs with friends. Actually, one of the pilots I booked working a background job with somebody who was just basically befriended on that background job, became friends while working that background job. And then he's like, my cousin's working on this pilot, and you would be perfect for this part. Is it okay if I give him your Instagram? And he did. He gave out my Instagram to his cousin, and his cousin reached out to me, sent me sides. I did an audition for him, emailed it back to him, and then next thing you know, I'm shooting a pilot. The thing about it is you don't know who you're talking to. no matter where you are in this world, but especially in Hollywood, you could be talking to a writer, producer, director, next big star in a film. So always, 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 you're always networking, and that is the biggest secret to it all. Yeah, and one last note about networking, on background jobs, that's also how I got my agent. And that's another thing I want to talk about too. Agents help you get auditions. Also, submitting yourself on Backstage and Actors Access helps you get auditions. If you're not auditioning as an actor, you're not working. So, other thing other than networking is auditioning. So just keep at it, keep out there, and you never know what set you land on next. And I'll leave you guys with this. There's a George Burns quote. I honestly think it is better to be a failure at something you love than a success at something you hate. Thank you for watching. Here, enjoy a clip from my community theater days.
In there with Beppo and get them cleaned up fast. I'll find Jock and fill him in. Max, from this point on, nothing will go wrong.
Hi, I'm sorry, we're busy. Maggie? Oh, Maggie, sweetheart, how are you? How are you feeling? Oh, I felt so terrible being away this weekend. What? Contractions? You're having contractions? Oh my God, are you sure? Oh, where are you, Maggie? Oh, are you at the hospital?